Well, kia ora all saints. I'm standing here in Guy's kitchen. Oh wait, actually no, I'm standing here at church. We decided that we'd find this great angle of this brick building and the stained glass windows behind me before I talk about idolatry. But we're in week 3 of our series, week 3 of our gospel series. We're working our way through this series, and you will have learned a number of things over the first couple of weeks. We hope that this series is a chance to renew our faith, to renew our heart, to renew our walk with God, and ultimately renew our love of Jesus and what He's doing in this world. And so we also hope that you'll be able to answer clearly what the gospel is at the end of the series. So far we've learnt 2 things. First, Guy talked to us about the city and how the gospel is played out by holding out our distinctiveness while also integrating and loving our city. Not being separate, not moving away, but the sense of loving both the city and God. The second thing we learned was Summer talking about the gospel is just full of grace. There is nothing we can do to earn it. And it's about the initiating love of God. So this week, we're going to be talking about Jesus being our overmastering positive passion. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's okay. We'll get to that as we go along. But I want to ask you a question. What thing, if you lost it, would cause you to lose your will to live? What thing, if you lost it, would mean that you lose meaning, significance, and hope from your life? Your answer to those questions is quite likely what your idol is, what you're living for. What is an idol? An idol is something more fundamental than God. It's something that you're living for. So you can think of all the things that bring you happiness, meaning, identity in life. What is it? That's the thing that you're living for. Now there's heaps of examples, and some of them are good examples. They're good things. So what people might be living for their career, they might be living for their family, they might be living for the achievements that they've succeeded in life. They might be living for a particular political agenda. Some people in this world live to just be physically attractive. Some hold out for romance. Some hold out for the approval of others. Financial security. Entertainment. I just want to have fun. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's comfort. Or maybe it's golden calf. But you can ask yourself that question, what am I living for? And you will likely say many of these good things. I live for my family, I live for Jesus, I live for my job as a vicar. And these are not bad things, and we can often say these things when we're asked that question. But do we really get to the bottom of what our idol is? One suggestion to find an idol, to find your idol, is to really ask yourself what your nightmare is. Now, if you're like me, my nightmare is that people hate me because I've stood up for my faith. Or people hate me because I've said something controversial. Now, if I dive deep into that, I think I can start to realize that my real idol, the thing that I'm really living for often, is people's approval. Yours might be quite different. Idols are not always bad things. In fact, they come across, and most of the world probably thinks they are good things. Family is inherently a good thing. It's okay, it's good. But if it becomes an ultimate thing, if it becomes above our love of God, it's an idol. Now, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-reflection to start to figure out what your idols are. What are your nightmares? What could that point out to you are your idols? Now, Romans 1:25, which was part of our reading today, describes perfectly how these things can become idols in our lives. It says in verse 25, humanity exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator. We can exchange God for something else, something that is created, human approval, money, all those things I listed before. And we put that created thing before God and worship it rather than God. It's often subtle, it's often unnoticed, and it is done by humans all over the world and all over history. Martin Luther, a church reformer, very famous, started the Lutheran Church. He puts it this way: the first commandment is that you shall have no other gods before me. Now, you cannot break one of the other commandments without having first broken that commandment. You want to know how that works? Let's take a look at the command, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbour. In other words, don't lie. Now, why do we lie? Well, often we lie in a specific situation, because we don't lie in all situations, but we lie in a specific situation because at that moment there is something more important to us than God. We are more worried in that moment about our own approval or image. And if we break that, we're therefore breaking the first commandment. We've lied because God is not the first thing on our list. So how do we not fall into idolatry? There's this beautiful picture given in Genesis 29 about Jacob and Rachel. Jacob finds this beautiful woman named Rachel, and he's over the moon excited about her. She is beautiful. Her father, Laban, however, is who he came to see and to work for. So he proposes a deal to the father. He says, I will work for 7 years, and in exchange, I ask for your youngest daughter's Rachel's hand in marriage. 7 years pass, he works 7 years for this father, and then the father comes to him and tricks Jacob. And instead, he marries the eldest daughter Leah instead of Rachel. But Jacob is so determined. He so wants to grab on to what he sees as amazing. And so he works another 7 years to marry Rachel. Jacob gave 14 years of his life to something because he wanted it so much. He had what many call an overmastering positive passion. Now, this term comes from a Scottish minister named Thomas Chalmers. He says, the heart is so constituted that the only way to dispossess it of an old affection is by the expulsive power of a new one. In other words, the only way to get rid of a bad habit is to replace it with a good one. What you need to drive out an old passion is a new passion, a greater passion. What you need is an overmastering positive passion. So how do we get rid of an idol? How do we get rid of me seeking other people's approval? We replace it with a new passion, a greater passion, an overmastering positive passion. In other words, we have to fall in love with Jesus all over again. See, for us, Jesus is our Rachel. He's the one whom we give our life to for 14 years, and hopefully more. And in the process of that, idols have no more power over us. So my question this morning is, do you love Jesus? Is he your overmastering positive passion? Is he something that gives you joy, that gives you life, that you are just passionate about? That's how we turn away from idols. We give our lives away to Jesus and to his kingdom. He becomes just this overflowing present in our life. He becomes everything we strive after. He becomes first, and he becomes Lord. And so as you meet this morning, and as your house church leader and people who you're gathering with ask questions, delve deeply into this. Are you loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind? And let me pray. Oh God, you have loved us so well. You have been kind to us. You have given us all that we need. You have kept us from danger. You have given us new life and forgiveness in your Son, Jesus. But we sinned against you, doing what you told us not to do. We think and live like you don't love us, like you don't see our struggles, like you don't see our needs. We think that other gods of money, more stuff, looking good, seeming smart, and feeling accepted will make us whole and happy. But really, only you can make us whole and joyful. So help us trust you when you say, I will be with you. Amen.